It's Mental Health Monday with Hope, a sanctuary where hearts can find solace. Together, we stand strong, united in our journey, discovering the strength within ourselves. Have no fear, for we're not alone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mental Health Mondays with Hope, and happy July. Can you believe it is July already? It's crazy, isn't it? And boy, we sure had the weather to prove it last week, didn't we? So tonight on Mental Health Mondays, we are talking with Darnell Davis, and what we're going to be talking about tonight is community mental health needs, and we're going to see what's happening, what's not happening, what needs to happen. So let's welcome Darnell Davis to the show. Entrez-vous.
Is that me? Wait a minute.
Sorry, I didn't answer the doorbell right away. So Darnell, just you know that I like to start my show with a positive affirmation from my guest. That is an I am statement. So do you have something for us tonight?
Right now, I am sleepy, but we can get through that. I'm tired. I am tired, but let's just get this today. Let's go with I'm excited for the future.
Absolutely. That's great. That's great. Now, before we get to the actual topic, why don't you go ahead and tell, people a little bit about yourself as a person, what you do in life and all the lives you lead?
Wow.
I know we don't have 10 hours.
No. I mean, well, first off, thank you for having me back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is exciting. I love watching people grow their brands. I love watching people stay consistent and persistent in what they do. So that's one of my favorite things to do. Myself being a podcast host and myself, running two significantly different podcasts, I understand the cost, the time cost and commitment it takes to do that. So first off, thank you. And to your producer, thank you for having me back on again. Now, once my name is Darnell, I got to give me one of those, man. I got to give me a producer. Anyhow, my name is Darnell Davis, and I am, first off, the CEO and co-founder of Aspire to Autonomy, Inc. We are a local nonprofit human services organization that combats human trafficking. And then I also run a business development and CMO services company. So I kind of do a little bit of a couple of things day to day. But most of my days today or these days is I operate as the CEO of Aspire because we've just grown in such a significant way that we are, it just took it's taken a little bit more of the time than I anticipated before. Before it was just like I can do 1 or 2 days a week or something like that. It was kind of cool because we were just in a growth, but now we're growing. Something ironic is today I ran our payroll where we just closed our fiscal year at the end of June. And I just ran our payroll reports, and I looked at what one of our clinicians is actually making per month and I think it was like 22 or 23 our actual whole year's revenue.
Wow.
So what one of our employees has made was almost a whole year's worth of that's how much growth that we've had.
Right.
That's when you're looking
tremendous.
at that and you're like, oh wow.
Right.
First
definitely off, gives it perspective.
It does, because it's like, so in order to have paid her this amount of money, we as an organization have had to do something a little bit different. And that's one of the things that I can appreciate about the work that we get to do every day. And so I don't want to get too much into what we do because that's part of the conversation, but that's pretty much my day to day.
Right.
I help brands establish their presence online. and through unique ways of development and sourcing support and lead generation. That's my other job. Then I have what four employees on that side. So it's a different world. It's a different world that, growth is never, it's never fast, and if it comes too fast, you never really realize how much you miss when it grows too fast. And now I'm in
Right.
the space of I thought I knew.
Right.
I thought I shared with someone the other day. I can appreciate the work of that we get to do in our business, right? So what we do, the work that we do, all that stuff, I appreciate. That's the work of doing the work of the business. Then there is the work of the business. And a lot of people don't realize that caveat is that the
Right.
work of the business is the stuff that no one gets to see. And that's the stuff that governments regulate. That are the
Right.
things that people like to see. Those are the taxes. That's the payroll. That's the
Right.
insurances and being, yelling at insurance agents and, all that back end stuff, man. And you just don't
Right.
really get to know until you're sitting in the thick of it. And, or you're like, hey, they're like, hey, you don't have enough coverage for what you're doing now. You need to upgrade. And you're like, what does that mean? And you're like, well, everything that you're doing right now is going to cost you this amount, X amount more. And you're like,
Oh,
hey, all right. So this is a new world. There's a new world that we're in. But officially the 18th of this month, Aspire turns 8 years old. So this is a
that's
celebratory
tremendous.
month. It's a celebratory month,
Congratulations.
and so we're growing and going.
Right, right. And when you started with a safe house, correct?
Well, when we started, we were a very grassroots.
Right.
All we did was go out and train and try to do small things, and
Okay.
then we started moving towards opening the safe house because of COVID, believe it or not.
Right, right.
We were already that was already an intent in the beginning of what we were doing. That was always phase one of our rollout as an organization, but COVID kind of expedited that. And
Right.
so where a lot of companies we kind of shrunk back during COVID, we were actually able to begin to expand our service offerings. And the first in show was our safe house for women that we had. We got to operate that for a couple of years, and the only reason why we did not continue was funding. It
Right.
a beast because we were 24-hour staff, so we didn't believe in leaving and so obviously
Absolutely.
that magnitude you got to pay people, and uh that lesson learned there was significant because at first it was great. We were actually pretty well funded, and but towards the end, for what we needed, the marketplace the marketplace just shifted so much. It was like, if we can continue to do this, we're going to go in debt. If we continue to do this, and our mission will be impacted overall if we continue to go down this route and go into debt in order to do it. So it was just like, if it's a service offering that we wanted to be committed to, but we just could not do it. So
Right.
I had to say goodbye to that. But there are
Yeah.
things we set in line whilst we were running that we now are, that's still a very much a core portion of what we are or who we are as an organization. One day we hope to get
Right.
back to the housing space because it is, especially in our world, um, we hope to get back into that, but it's going to take. Unfortunately, I'm not the only one making decisions here, and it's going to take when you have a partner like mine, it's going to take it's because everything else is running so smoothly. So eventually
Right.
we may end up back into the ecosystem, but for right now we really want to hyper focus on what we're hyper focusing on at the moment, and which was again always part of our original mission, it was actually where we are now was actually supposed to be phase 3 of the mission, and that was supposed in all actuality, it was supposed to just get started around year 6, year 8. So it was kind of like,
Okay.
we are still rolling along in our original mission vision, but we would just roll it out a couple of years ahead of time. So we
Right.
just had to adjust
Right.
and move forward.
So let's talk a little bit about what you do with community mental health services. What do you offer?
So we have a couple of different approaches that we decided to take a look at. Because remember our core uh demographic is we believe that we service individuals impacted by trauma.
Right.
One of which, the main of which, is individuals who have been impacted by human trafficking. So we created the first and only outpatient mental health clinic that's dedicated to supporting survivors of human trafficking. So, but the way that we began to see things was when you start doing the street level stuff that we started doing, we started seeing a pattern, right? And that pattern was the coalition, the when you see how mental health is impacted, human trafficking, and how mental health plays a part in how people are taken advantage of. And so we started thinking about, well, how can we differentiate ourselves from everything and everyone else? Because everyone is rah, 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 bad, bad, bad. But we're like, but
Right.
what's next? Right. And a lot of companies, a lot of organizations tend to be reactive. And what I mean by reactive is, hey, I'm in trouble, help. Fantastic, right?
Right.
That's very important. That's
Sure.
kind of the core, right? But what if we can prevent it by getting in front of the behaviors that come as a result of trauma? One of the statistics is that there's a statistic that says that a woman that is abused early on is more subject to being abused or a little bit later on in life, because there just seems to be that, I guess, what do you want to call it, almost like a spotlight on that individual. Well, that one of those things we recognize as trauma, right? And so
Right.
we decided to develop a system that gets in front of that, because what we do is we say to our vets, right? God bless them for the work that they do. But we say to them, hey, you feel bad, you feel that you're not able to hold on or what have you. Instead of doing X, call somebody, get support, get mental health treatment, do all that. We say that, we preach that. We preach that now to everyone. Get mental health support, get mental health support. And we thought about it. But when you take about, and especially in our lower income, our lower, our brothers and sisters and friends that are underserved and unsheltered, there's this lifelong adapting that they've had to do to warlike or conditions in some of our
Right.
neighborhoods, right? I mean, gunshot is a gunshot, whether it's on 12th Street or in Beirut, right?
Right.
It's a gunshot,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
you know. And so the way we started seeing the patterns, but we started seeing, well, hey, if we can lock in early and lock in early and get people access to the mental health support, because again, we're, especially when it comes to other certain forms of human trafficking, we see that coalition of, hey, this happened to me, which makes me do this, and then I end up here, and then because I end up here, this is my life. We do,
Right.
for our trainings, we do a training. We didn't create the program, but we do. There's someone created this thing called walk in her shoes, and so before every one of our trainings, we do um, this activity, and it's essentially this activity of trying to find or navigate resources or navigate life of an individual that experienced trauma and abuse early on in her life. And then what we do is we go, hey, you guys just say, why don't you do this? And everybody out there says, why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? We then say, hey, this is what your experience. So all of that to say is that we decided to create a program or a system that gets in front of that. So that's the community mental health that we have, health clinic that we do
Right.
operate out of
And
Allentown.
I think that's fabulous. I mean, always like being proactive versus reactive. Obviously, we need to be reactive because,
Yeah.
we're not going to find out everything before it happens. But, if you can, have a voice, make a name, be out there in the community,
Mhm.
being proactive and, letting individuals who have experienced trauma get comfortable with you, because it's not always easy for them to
Yeah.
trust people. And and then you can make a difference prior to it getting worse. What is your experience with people who have been trafficked? Because when you were on before, we talked about trafficking in a lot different way than what people just make this assumption of, people armed thugs ripping people off the street and selling that, this could be loved ones, this could be people you trust, people is there any, like, what's the recidivism, if you want to call it that? Like, are there any statistics on people who have been trafficked who are then get out of the situation but then are re-trafficked? Because again, we're talking about trauma lifestyle.
Yes.
Are there any statistics on that you're aware of?
So I believe there are, but unfortunately they don't have those
That's
on
fair.
hand. So I won't be able to answer that completely,
sure.
but I can say that recidivism is one of the many reasons why our community intervention services exist. So
Gotcha.
when you come in contact with Aspire, we have the system we call Path to Autonomy. And what the path to autonomy is actually is our way of saying, hey, we're going to get you into our support ecosystem. And what we're going to endeavor to do is, again, because again, resources being an issue, trauma and resources are generally one of the two factors that lead to high risk behaviors. So
Right.
let's deal with the trauma, but through our intervention services, right? Hey, let's get you access to resources. Now that resources is the difference. Sometimes those resources are the difference of somebody putting themselves in a situation where they do that. Now you take somebody who's been living a certain type of lifestyle for any significant amount of time, right? And then place them into a world where they're back to struggling. The automatic reaction is go to what I know, because it's the
Right.
easiest path.
Absolutely.
It's the path of least
Absolutely.
resistance. And so what we endeavor to do with our community intervention services and our path to autonomy is hey, instead of going back there, give us a call. We're going to walk with you until you're ready for us to get out of your hair. We're going to bother you. We're going to be right there for you. We're going to make sure that we don't have access to that information or that support. We're going to endeavor to get you access to that support so that you don't feel like you have to go back out there in order to do it. Now, are we batting 1,000? Obviously, we're not batting 1,000. There's just no way to do so. We're dealing with people who have their own will and emotions, right? And so, but that's again why we call it the path to autonomy, because it's not always a straight line. It's not a highway. It's a path. It's going to have some mountain. It's going to have some stumbling blocks. It's going to have, sometimes you may even have to cut through new ground and what have you. And that's what we call the path to autonomy. So we try our best to get in front of those things by providing opportunities for resources and providing the care and the 360 care, I guess you would call it, like the 360 view of what that care looks like, and see if we can get in front of that. And then we hope that we minimize the recidivism, simply because they're not forced to react to the situation the same way they would have if they didn't have our supports in line with them.
Right. And I mean, when we talk about community mental health services, besides what Aspire is doing with your community intervention services, what else is out there? Are there community, health navigators? Like, who do you partner with anyone?
So we do a little bit of both. We don't believe we have all the answers, right? We're just not there. We're not going to do that.
Right.
And we know what our mission is. So we're not going to try to cross out of our mission at this point. But there are great companies and great organizations. There are just even individuals and houses of worship that are doing such great things right out there in the community already, that we go, hey, let's link them up. And we created a system called Project Underground Railroad. And what this is our way of saying, hey, if certain organizations are doing XYZ, we don't need to have that in-house. Let's partner with them, and then we can hopefully get those resources from them. So now they come in as a part of that path. We create a situation where the client and gives us a release, allows us to speak on their behalf to X organization. X organization then reaches out. So we create ROI. We follow HIPAA for every level, right?
Absolutely.
And so we believe, hey, informed consent. Hey, we're going to reach out to this person for you. Can you sign this document so that we can talk on your behalf? Eventually, we want them to we try to do as many warm handoffs as humanly possible when it comes to resources. And so you have someone like Pastor Rich, who I've been meaning to introduce you to, right? And what have you, and he hosts Mental Health Mondays on at his church. This is a little UCC church in Bethlehem, but he gets 20 people there every week.
That's great.
And so that's somewhere where this is not a clinic, and it's not, it's a faith-based, but he's very much not churchy. There's all these different things, but in that space, he operates, it treats that ministry of his like an outreach, like an outreach organ. And so what we did was partner with that program. So now we have team members that go there directly to his program, and they make themselves a part of that community. Now, through our community intervention services and being a part of that community, now if something we've had, Pastor Rich is probably one of our biggest referral partners. We're always getting phone calls. Hey, I have so-and-so, and so-and-so showed up here. So-and-so showed up at Mental Health Monday. Here's our situation. Can you give me some support? Blah, 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 blah. And he's active in all kinds of parts, and he's very active in the anti-human trafficking space, right? Okay. So what we endeavor to do is go places like that and partner. While at the same time, we've had our community intervention services in the support of Conference of Churches Daybreak. We've had an on-site therapist there, right? Outreach therapist there. Again, dealing with the least of us, dealing with the unsheltered or underserved individuals. We're meeting them right there where they are.
Where they're at, absolutely.
That's kind of how we navigate this, because what we want to do is get them, but at the same time, this on the other side is when we're out doing outreach and we bump into someone. So somebody needs somewhere to be, and maybe they may need some just a support community, right? And we're out in the community. Hey, do you know Pastor Rich does this over there? Even though it's at a church, it's not churchy or whatever. It's a great support group for people to come in. Or, hey, somebody might be in need of housing assistance. And so we don't offer housing assistance in our program, but now our relationship with Conference of Churches says, hey, we package this up. This individual needs some kind of support. Can you give them the support that they need? This is a direct referral from us to them. So, or another great one is Mira Resources, is another organization that's doing fantastic work in the immigrant community, within the immigrant community and undocumented community, right? Again, with the work that we do, obviously that's where those are touch points that, okay, hey, they may see somebody, but a lot more often than not, because we actually do street level outreach, we're going to be also referring back over to them to say, hey, so-and-so needs the support. And, a lot of, we work with a lot of other organizations where, hey, we have contact directly with Homeland Security investigations, and if we're outside and we come in, so that's another resource that we have, that it's not us doing the work, but if we need to make that phone call, have 2 or 3 agents and the field commander in quick mode, right? And so that's that's really what we like to do, is we like to connect, and that's called our Project Underground Railroad. We want
I,
more
yes.
like that. And then on the other side of that is we just made some connections now where we actually have some small business owners now that are part of the community. And now when our survivors and our community members need jobs, can you imagine that? Somebody actually
Right.
needs to work, and in order to not do something wrong or put themselves in a situation that causes them to put themselves in harm's way. Oh, you mean to tell? So now what we have is trauma informed business owners going back out into the community, hiring people who need these supports, and with an understanding that, hey, Hope may have a need, but Hope is also, so they're cleared. We like to clear them through we train, and they get clearances. Like the owners, we got to get them to the point where they're cleared to know what's going on, so that they know, and we don't break HIPAA because we're not going to be like, hey, Hope's coming in with a
Right.
problem. What we've done
Right.
is we've created the connection. We've given that. We've gotten we've worked through the informed consent. We're doing all these different things in order for that person to connect with a potential employer. And again, that's something that we've pride ourselves in that we want to just be connectors. We're not always looking to be the answer to all of this. Sometimes we just want to be the connector. And the poet Ivory.
Is that what? See, look at me. Like, you can tell I need my glasses. So it says, what communities are you actively working with? So you can go ahead and answer that, Darnell.
Right now we service a lot more than anything. It would be the Lehigh Valley, the greater Lehigh Valley. So we're Allentown, Bethlehem, East, and all the surrounding areas. And we're starting to dip our toe into Monroe County now through some partnerships that we're creating there. So, but right now we work wherever we need to go. We're not a big team yet. And I use the word yet.
So basically it's Lehigh, Northampton counties, mostly in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And then, kind of dipping your toes into Monroe. Cause I hear people up in Monroe County. And
but we've also dealt in Delco, Philadelphia County. Right. We've had some Harrisburg. So we are all over the place. We go where we're needed if it's in our reach. Like we can't go to Florida for someone, even though, but what we're endeavoring to do is to make our resource pool wide enough or deep enough that if someone in Florida should happen to come upon a situation but there are other organizations like Polaris that we try to connect people with that then have that network internationally of support. But yeah, right now, mainly greater Lehigh Valley, and tapping, dipping right into the verge of in the Stroudsburg area in that beginning of the Monroe County.
Okay. And the services that you're talking about, like the, the business owners who, will work with you and hire individuals and the different, and like pastor and all that. They're all in the Lehigh Valley, correct? Or are they out further?
Yeah, most of them, almost everyone that's a direct referral partner at this point, but like I said, Pastor Rich is from Delco, so a lot of his connections is in the Delco area.
Gotcha.
We've worked with individuals that have come to us from Pittsburgh. We've had a couple of women that we supported from California and got them back to California. We've done a lot. But for our core, we definitely try to stay with, because that's where all the resources we know of.
Sure.
Unfortunately, the two counties that we work at operating, we're just getting to learn a little bit more about the other counties kind of directly surrounding us.
Are there any state or national anti-trafficking coalitions for organizations such as yours where you can connect and share resources and information?
There are several, but what I would prefer to do is when you guys connect to us on our Facebook, reach out to us and we'll get you that list, our list of who we work with, so that
Gotcha.
people
Gotcha.
can people can really get to know that, because
Sure.
we really want to. There are a lot of national organizations, but it's not a national system. There's several
Gotcha.
other organizations in the Lehigh Valley, but they're not always all connected, but they are connected, if you know what I mean. And so we
Sure.
want to make sure that we we do good service by providing that, because some of the
Absolutely.
companies that we work with also don't, they don't like operating over top. So we're trying, but there are some coalitions and national, like Polaris is a great place to start if you guys are not in the Lehigh Valley. Polaris is national. It's the national human trafficking hotline and what have you. And before we go, I'll make sure you guys get that as well. But that is something that everyone should actually have in their,
Right.
even in their phone, because
Okay.
the old see something, say something thing
Right.
is super important. And I just want make as I want everybody to kind of have that, because that's a database of trafficking incidents nationally, and they roll out, they have the biggest database in the country right now. So they have statistics that will blow your mind if you ask them for it.
Mm,
And so just so
okay.
you guys know, it's 1-888-373-7888.
Wait,
So
say it
that's
again.
888
1 8 8
888
8
373 7888
373
7888.
888. Did you catch that, Kendall? 888
373
888 3, was it 888 373
7888.
7888? Okay. We're going to put that up in there so it can scroll across. People can take that down.
That's like the biggest resource, that if you suspect and you don't want to call the police, call them.
Right. Right.
One of the biggest supporters. When we
Right.
first started, we learned a lot from them.
Now, I know, we've mostly talked a lot about, trafficking, individuals who have been or are at risk of being trafficked because there's, underlying trauma a lot of times. So just like trauma in general, besides what Aspire does and Pathway to Autonomy, how do you feel like the resources are out there? Maybe that's not the first question I want to ask. A lot of times people say, oh, reach out if you need help. I'm talking about depression, any of my friends, if you're feeling depressed, just reach out.
Mhm.
So, a lot of times people who are in a depression don't reach out because they are in a depression. If you have experienced trauma, many times you might have like a fight or flight response or a freeze response. And, people will not necessarily reach out because, first of all, sometimes you don't even know that you're in a traumatic situation because that's where you've been your whole life. What's out there besides you guys? I mean, obviously what you guys, boots to the ground and getting to know people and getting to know their story and then, starting that relationship with them and then having that conversation with them. What else is out there, or what can people, do instead of saying, oh, reach out to me. You can always talk to me if you're depressed. Like, what's a reaction that someone can have if they feel that an individual that they're friends with or that they know has had some trauma in their life? How can they be there for them, I guess?
It's a weird, because I'm not going to come to you from a therapist because
right.
I'm not a therapist, right?
Well, I know. I don't even mean it from a therapeutic, from a therapeutic standard, because I've kind of already answered that myself. But I mean, like, as far as, how would you direct someone like that, just specifically to you, or to, like, what I'm saying? Like, is there like a one-stop shopping? Do you send someone to
if
211?
Well, 211 2-1, there's always going to be an I'll say it. I don't want to say it that way. Number one, most people want to be heard and they want to feel heard, right? And a lot of times people just want to know that you care. A lot of times this thing is not just go get help, go get help, go get help. Sometimes it's a relationship no matter what. If you
Absolutely.
know someone who needs it, sometimes they don't need you to say anything. They just want to know that you're there. That's where it can
Right.
all begin. Now, I only wish that there was a one-stop shop. Could you imagine
Oh, I know,
if there was
I
a
know, I
one-stop
know.
shop?
It's
Boy,
every
would we
social worker's, dream.
good God. Oh boy. And then because then you can have a one-stop shop, but then unfortunately systems will jam that thing up really
Absolutely,
good. So
absolutely,
because you may
absolutely.
want to move fast, but the systems that are in
Oh, I
place
know.
don't want to move as fast. And unless you're independently
Right.
funded by a very well-off and generous individual, right? The systems are just not going to let you. But I think
Right.
that as part of what makes us unique is that we started focusing in this unique way. And we really are more about relationship building than anything. We didn't want to go, like I said, Aspire is just on the, this month makes 8 years, and it's been 8 years of relationship building. It's been 8 years of dealing with mess and crap and heartache and all that stuff. But it's also been 8 years of joy and watching some of our clients go from, you know, being living in fear to living their best lives, right? And so but a lot of it is truly about relationships. And so once you've developed that, most people are isolated because they've isolated themselves. So if you see someone isolating, for me it's about, hey man, how do I let knowing that somebody's battling for you is sometimes just as good. But again, not speaking as a
Right.
therapist, but for me, that's just from my particular point of view, doing the
Right.
work that I've had to reach out, that I've been able to do, sitting and doing outreach, because it's been more about me getting out there and building relationships, people seeing your face, people seeing that and
Right.
then those lead to those other opportunities. But for someone, if it's a loved one, I mean, it just, you got to not let them go, right? I think you can tell, isolation, it begins. It doesn't just show up. You know what I mean? It began somewhere. It began. It was something that was a process. And so,
Right.
check on your friends, check on your family members, check on them, because you might be that phone call. I can't tell you how many times we've had these conversations where it's somebody that was saying, hey man, if it hadn't been for X person reaching out when they did, my next thing to do was to do X, right?
Right.
And that's something that's super important. I think we've, especially post COVID, community has really become a 4-letter word, because we were forced to separate. We were forced because we were told, okay, we're not going to go there. We as a, no, don't want to do that one either. We as society we've had to deal with a international level of trauma for the last 5 years, right? And at such a high rate. But the one thing that happened was isolation became mandatory, and as a result, we're still dealing with that. And so it
Right.
is a matter of just bringing community back. If that's one thing I could ever tell people, man, is bring back the block parties, bring back, black parties minus the Karens and the shootings. If we could just do that, that would
100%.
mean so much, right? If we could just bring back the block parties, bring back the good times where you actually knew your neighbor to the right's name and the neighbors across, and they knew you. Remember those days?
Yeah. Yeah, they were great days.
Those
They were
days. I
great
mean,
days.
granted, kids wouldn't be able to get away as much as they do now, but because everybody knew everybody. Everyone knew your
Okay,
family.
so the poet Ivory, is that what it said again? They said happy anniversary and thank you for what they do. For us, is that for us? Happy anniversary for us, or is that happy anniversary for Jarnell? Because we just celebrated our anniversary here as the PA Empowerment Network.
Wepa, okay.
And then you're celebrating your anniversary as
well, we'll take it as a universal, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah. So
thing.
Absolutely. So thank you. Now you are always looking for volunteers, correct?
I love that. Yes. Volunteers are important.
They are. Absolutely.
We
it's so funny. I apologize. I'm texting just right now as we're talking, and I do apologize because I'm volunteering in my community to help find a runaway ram, and there's been a sighting. So I'm just, messaging them back that I'm busy at the moment. Yes, I said ram, like a male sheep. I'm being truthful here. I know, right?
That is great.
Stop that. Stop. So you just you stop that. You stop that. No. So this ram has been out on the run for like 2 weeks now. That meat is pretty solid. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's going to be.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Amber, do you hear him? No. So yes, you have a goal for this fiscal year, correct? When it comes to volunteer, but now what do you call them? Ambassadors.
Ambassadors, yes. Yep.
Okay, so tell us what your goal is.
So, well, we don't have a particular number goal just yet because that's something we're working on. Because we have a training goal. Our training goal is 500 this year. That's a training goal. But we're hoping that part of that training are ambassadors. And essentially, what we endeavor to do with our volunteers is we don't want people to think that we just call them when we need the labor, right? When we need you to put up a tent or need you to stand in a line or something like that. We want people to be actively engaged in helping us expand the Project Underground Railroad. And that Project Underground Railroad is truly about community, and it's truly about building community, not just here's the negative, right?
Or just like you said, just coming and setting up a table or a tent and then skipping out. It's getting to know people and meet people in the community.
So if
and
we
develop relationships.
Yes, exactly that. So we want more volunteers that are business owners, more volunteers that are corporate leaders, more volunteers that are, that are self-starters and people that can build community. Because what we feel is if we can get the community, the more information we can get into the hands of the everyday person, the work that we get to do becomes a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
Exactly. And so what we want to do is so we call our volunteers ambassadors for a reason, right? The reason why we tag this, we want you to carry our message, work on our behalf. We want you to feel comfortable knowing that we've put the right information into your hands and that you can see and say something and say it with, instead of, 4 years ago or so, we had the Qs and all of those other people that were out there, right? Just tossing information out there. Right. And this is like, right. And so, but they did do something for us, right? It wasn't necessarily always the best of, but it was something. It was more of than not, right? And so, but we want to get informed, educated people, but empowered people is what we call them, and have empowered people empower people. And so when we created the Underground Railroad, we started off as our training series. And what we intended to do was do trainings in small group settings. Our very first one was out here at the Quadrant in Easton in her actual bookstore speakeasy. So it was actually like a little camp meeting inside of a little room inside of a little building in Easton. And then we've also done a couple at a couple of we've done some college campuses, but we've also done stuff in homes. We've gone and trained people in homes. We've done businesses, we've supported businesses, and so that's the intent of the organization now, is we want to increase that number, because the other side of it is we have so many other things that we're doing, so many more empowerment things that we're driven stuff that we're doing. One of the hard parts and the blessings, it's also a good thing, is that we can tell you that we've worked with a lot of people who have been impacted by human trafficking. We can't tell you that number simply because HIPAA won't allow us to give that information out. But we can say that we've worked with a lot of people. And
Right.
one of the things that I believe that we need on the other side of this are as many people equally out in the community, helping us reach more people. And I think that, but also the more people that we have inside of this community, the people that are in that community that we're supporting, we can now have people that we trust support them. And that's really
Right.
where the stage where we are for our fiscal 27 is we're starting to build those relationships now. Community, we want to build a bigger, more robust community, but we want to have a more impactful community, so that when the people that are a part of our system need those external supports that are not given by us, sometimes because we have a clinical, we have a certain relationship with them, we can only we have to keep things at such a professional level. So our ability to connect is based upon even though it can get deep, it still has to remain such a boundary driven
Right.
relationship that there's just some things we can't cross, right? Not because it's bad, it's just that it takes us out of that professional boundary into a more personal boundary. And unfortunately, we can't effectively do what we need to do because of the personal aspect. We don't want that to interfere with the
Right.
work that we do. So if we can create a community and an ecosystem for those individuals, now we call that giving them their tribe, helping them rebuild their tribe. And we've seen that with a couple of our past clients, is that we've been able to get them in touch to a community, and that community outside of us has been able to embrace them, and now they have a tribe. That tribe
Right.
has I have one that she's one of such a success story, that we've created something within our system that's giving her a leadership position
That's great.
inside of that. So she went from a client at our safe house to now in a leadership position in our
That's
organization.
wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful.
So but that's all because of the volunteers, that the
Right.
ambassadors that are around us, that said, hey, we'll embrace her because we want them to have those interpersonal, we want them to have that person that's not us, that will also go to bat for them, because that's another
Right.
problem, is isolation. And people get taken advantage because they don't have a community around them. They don't have,
Right.
and the community, or the community around them is so bad. And if you know anything about recovery, right, environment is a very important part of
Absolutely.
recovery. If your environment is not conducive to recovery, then you're not guaranteed the level of recovery success that you would have if you changed your environment. And so what we want to do is get them into a community. Some of it's faith, sometimes it's faith-based. We've moved people into faith-based organizations.
Sure.
And they strive, but some people don't want that. And so we want to make sure that we can create just that relationship, the community relationship, and then let the community, let the marketplace, if you will, in business talk, right, dictate to where their lives go, as long as it doesn't take them back into the hands of someone who's going to manipulate. And so we try to vet as much. So we have a couple of different levels of ambassadorship. We have just a surface supporter. You've seen, these are individuals that you were at our last box giveaway. Hey,
yeah,
random guy comes to help us out to
give
boxes away, right? Very surface. That's not even really surface. That is just, hey, they're doing a good thing, let's do this.
Yeah. Can I say right?
Then we have some that are a little deeper, right? And I guess a good case for that would be some of our people that are volunteering to be a part of Lady Boss Summit. They're a little bit closer to the circle. They are involved with more than just, hey, doing this. Some of these individuals helping us build relationships with donors. Some of these people are helping us if a survivor has a need and we need to go get them something. They'll donate food. They'll donate, toiletries. They'll donate
Right.
money and stuff like that to get clothing and all that stuff. And then we have the third level. These are individuals that we call a high-level ambassador. And the high-level ambassador, we need you to get clearances. We need FBI. So if you're going to have contact with our survivors in our community, and you're going to be working directly with potential clients, we go the deepest route. We want all of it. We want Childline. We're gonna want all of those different levels of support.
Absolutely.
I mean, of clearances, so that we can get
Right.
you to the level of support that you want to offer the community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as we're starting to wrap up, obviously, we're well aware that mental health services in general in the community is very sparse. And a lot of that is due to a lack of funding for like community mental health, a lack of funding, a lack of practitioners. And like you had stated with your safe house, the funding wasn't there. So besides having the Lady Boss Summit, which I know is a fundraiser for you, how can people support you? Like business sponsorships, just making contributions, because it takes money to do all this. Sorry. I mean, it does, and the money's just not out there.
Oh, it's there. It's there.
Is it?
That's the one thing oh man, it's there. It's there.
All right. Explain what money's there in what capacity, because I don't see the government giving it out.
That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because we've been having this conversation just recently, and we think that the most powerful support comes from the Fed down, the macro down.
Right.
The best support is from the micro up. Right? It's the micro. It's, some of the most successful political campaigns were not with just the $1 million, $2 million donors. It was the $1 million, $5 donors. It was the
the grassroots efforts. Yeah.
And so that's one of the things we're doing a little bit differently with the community that we're developing in 2027. We've moved into doing some things really differently this year. Fiscal 27. We just ended our fiscal, so we're in our 26-27 year. And one of the biggest things is we're opening the door for more smaller donors, more monthly donor relationships. We have some things.
Okay.
We're creating a special community for Lady Boss and through our Lady Boss ecosystem that will allow people who are donors all year round to receive gifts and free VIP upgrades to Lady Boss Summit.
Okay.
Other gifts and stuff like that. We're moving into a different phase of that relationship. But yes, the micro is really where we're going after now. We write grants. I'm actually, we're going to be talking soon, you and I, about a grant that I'm writing. So we do write some grants, and we're doing that. But really right now, the big deal is we're going for that low to moderate dollar. We're looking for that $150 people, $150 a month donors. We're looking to start building that. Come the fall, we have a whole campaign that's happening to get ready for that, so that we can end the year really, really strong, into the calendar year really, really strong. But that's something we're bringing back. We're launching. We're just properly putting into place the new softwares and all that technology. Okay. I have a lot of technology that I wanted to integrate into this to kind of help us with that part of the mission. But really, the big thing is just we're looking for anybody who would be willing, even if it's a $10 a month commitment. Goes a long way right now. And so That's really what we're looking. We're going to be really hitting the ground hard with those smaller monthly donors and what have you through some of the platforms that we've created. And then we're
Okay.
also going to create larger funds. Was just sharing with one of our new board members that we want to create a survivor support fund. My target goal for the end of for the 26, 27 fiscal year is to have at least 15 to 20,000 available in that at any given time to help support our survivors and the needs
Right.
that come alongside of that. Just
Right. Right.
creating those different opportunities where we're very structurally going after, fundraising for very specific things, but that aren't necessarily program driven, but necessary for us to continue to do the work at a more efficient level, at a higher level, and eventually hire some more people, some more bodies to be out here doing what we do. Right now, we're volunteer,
Right.
we're really volunteer and internship led in our program. And it's particularly the CIS program, and so we're looking to rectify that this year by opening up a couple of part-time positions for people to come out here and do some street outreach with me and what have you.
Right.
So
Right.
that's kind of what we're looking for right now.
Right. A lot of growth, but still a lot of need. A lot of area to be covered still.
A whole lot, a whole lot. It's again, but we're looking for the long haul, right? We're in year 8.
Absolutely.
Our goal right now, my goal is it's year 10. Where are we going to be in year 10 right now? We're not even focused year 9 anymore. We're focusing on
Right.
year 10. Where are we going to be in
And
by year
and that's great. And
10?
that's great strategic planning. That really is great strategic planning, is to, be looking, different increment years ahead. So that's wonderful and positive at the same time, because you're continuing to grow and you're, continuing to serve. And I don't see the need decreasing. Because even if for some, like, human trafficking ended, and as the way most people think of it, as like people being nabbed off the streets, you're still going to have the factions of human trafficking that are kind of under the carpet. So people need to understand that it's more than just what you see on television and
Yeah,
in movies. And
it's
because this is what you're doing is trauma informed therapies, trauma informed assistance, with resources. And there's
exactly,
always going to be a need there, always.
exactly, exactly.
And I
Um,
just feel personally, the more we can work, because I think we're getting to a point, and I don't know if social media has, had anything to do with this. There's a lot more people are open about traumas in their life, like traumas from their
mhm,
past. And I think, like, these are things that, was kept hush hush or what have you in families and communities. And, I feel some of it's because of social media. People are like, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. And now they feel like they might have a tribe, or that they feel like, hey, it wasn't just me. So as more people come to a realization that they do things in their life because of trauma, that need is going to continue to grow to help
mhm.
people break out of that cycle, and and form a new path, a pathway to autonomy.
It's
See how
definitely
see how I
that.
slid that in there? No.
Definitely. It's always going to be a need because if you're a Bible person, the poor is always going to be with you, the desolate are always going to be around, but people or human
Right.
beings are flawed. And there are
Right.
people who experience there's trauma that is developed because everybody has this idea of what trauma is. And my trauma may not be the same as your trauma and what have
Absolutely.
you. And not everyone's trauma is the same, but we do know that trauma has an impact and a lasting impact in someone's life. So I think that once we've all come to grips with that and we start saying, hey, it's okay. The one thing we just celebrated men's mental health. And on my other podcast, we talked about
Right.
that almost every day, every week about men's mental health. But again, it's something that because it's been so stigmatized over the years that it has, but unfortunately also it's been stigmatized to the negative, and then it's been overly used for bad behaviors in the present. Right. And
Right.
so, oh, I'm dealing with this because of my mental health, or you, and we've used it as a disguise for just our ugly
Absolutely.
behaviors. And I think there's a
Sure.
balance to everything. And through that balance, I think that people, the average person, the everyday person, is going to be able to support their community. If we can get back to that, I think that when we have more community, we have more accountability. That more accountability allows us to build better communities. That better community, it isn't always going to look X way or Y way, but at least we know the connection is there, and the people
Right.
are coming together, and then we can deal with all those other individual problems later, as they come up. But you're correct, it is something that it's become so open on social media, because of social media, that a lot of people use that as a way to excuse them just being a bad person, right? They're just some
Right.
people, you're a bad person, it's not your mental health,
Right.
you're just a douche,
Right. Just a
right?
bad person. Right.
You're just a douche. It's okay.
Yeah.
We can help you deal with that, as long as we acknowledge that you're a douche. But we can
Fair
start
enough.
from
Fair enough.
and then from there, we can work together. And so
Right. Right.
that's really what it's all about, is getting that, extending out that hand of support to anyone who needs it, and letting them know you're not
Right.
being judged, unless you like sugar on your grits. I mean, if you like sugar on your grits, that's probably nothing we can do for
Uh-oh.
you. That's just something
Sorry.
you're gonna have to leave in God's hands and what have you. But for the most part, man, if you reach out, our
Oh,
hand of support should be there to kind of
yeah,
comfort you as we go along the way.
absolutely. And obviously, Darnell, we'll have you back on again, and we'll see where things are going for you in the organization. And I will put up in the comments, or if you'd like to, your website. And I do have a Facebook page, Mental Health Mondays with Hope. I will make sure that I put the information up there as well. And with that, I think we're gonna roll the credits here tonight. But Darnell, thank you so much. As always, you just very enlightening, and I love your energy. I can't do that whole Spock thing. There we go. So thank you, sir, and everyone who's been with us tonight. Thank you. Remember, subscribe, PA Empowerment Network. It's free, and you can check out everything we do. Thanks so much. See you next Monday. We're out. Oh, happy birthday. Oh, happy birthday, Mill. Thanks for the support. Yay!
It's Mental Health Monday with Hope, a sanctuary where hearts can find solace. Together, we stand strong, united in our journey, discovering the strength within ourselves. Have no fear, for we're not alone.